This section covers the setting up of the lorry loader safely on site. The Lifting Operations and Lifting Equipment Regulations 1998, LOLA, state that all lifting operations must be planned by a competent person. This video is not a substitute for the appropriate, full training required for the operation of all types of lorry loader. It is intended to complement and not replace the need for formal and ongoing training and assessment. BS 7121 Part 4 provides detailed guidance on considerations to be made regarding siting the loader. And most importantly, all lifting operations must follow a lifting plan, which has been prepared by a competent or appointed person. In the previous section, we looked at the requirement for and importance of pre-operational checks. Before leaving your depot or branch, you should ensure that you have the appropriate pre-operational check sheets for that day completed and signed. If you recall, part of your pre-operational check was also to ensure you have all specified documentation, including current overload test certificate, current reports of thorough examination for the loader and any attachments and accessories. Also required is the loader manufacturer's handbook, along with proof of your own training. Make sure you've read and understood your delivery tickets. Do you have the appropriate lifting plans, accessories, and product handling procedures? Finally, is your load and lorry loader secured for travel? Section 5 covers this in more detail. The first duty on arriving on site is to report to the person named on the delivery ticket. On commercial or construction sites, this may be the site safety officer or work supervisor. They will almost always wish to check your documentation prior to allowing you to offload. Remember, site rules apply at all times, so you must ensure you adhere to whatever instructions are given. On deliveries to domestic properties, the person you report to will commonly be the house owner or their builder. In all cases, it should be confirmed that the goods intended for delivery are correct and that the goods will only be placed in an appropriate and safe area. The area in which the truck is to be sited is important, as is the load landing area. Before proceeding, the operator should refer to the risk assessment and method statement contained in the lifting plan to ensure that the delivery can be made within the scope of the plan. This will firstly include checking some key items in relation to the ground conditions. For example, is it firm and sufficiently level? Are there any underground hazards, such as trenches, excavations or drains nearby? Is there sufficient room for the operation of the loader in the proposed load landing area? Manufacturers' handbooks carry clear instruction on the level of slope permitted for loader operation, being typically 5 degrees and occasionally as much as 7 degrees. This applies, however the vehicle is positioned in relation to the direction of the slope. Exceeding this figure can be dangerous, as the loader's slewing system may not be able to arrest itself adequately, and also create serious stability issues which could lead to overturning the vehicle. Overhead hazards should then be checked, especially the presence of power lines. There is a minimum safe working distance you need to observe, which can be found from your local power distribution company or by referring to HSE publication GS6, Avoidance of Danger from Overhead Electric Power Lines. Are there telephone cables overhead? What about trees, scaffolding, buildings, or bridges? The all-round environment should then be checked. Are there people or passing vehicles in the immediate vicinity? What about other general hazards, such as nearby schools and shops? Working alone is also a hazard, so make sure your manager is aware of what you're doing and the time he's expecting you back. As a point of note, there is a difference between working alone and lone working. Lone working requires additional control measures to be included in the safe system of work to maintain regular contact with the operator and to have a contingency plan in the event of a problem arising. The weather can also be an important factor. For example, wind speeds of over 20 miles per hour can have a significant effect on the stability of a suspended load, so it's important to look for telltale signs such as tree movement. Extreme weather, such as bright sunshine or heavy rain, can cause possible problems with your vision. And remember, rain adds weight to many goods and can also make shrink-wrapped goods slippery. All additional factors to consider before you attempt to use the lorry loader. If you have found hazards which are not covered within the scope of your risk assessment, or if there are any other concerns about the delivery in general, you must not proceed with the lifting operation, but contact your appointed person, who is the only person authorized to make any changes to the lifting plan. However, if you are happy that all the conditions are satisfactory and that there are no hazards present which are not addressed within your risk assessment, then it's okay to proceed with the delivery. When you're in a position to proceed, the first step is to make sure you're wearing the appropriate PPE and isolate your working area. However, on all basic and low-level intermediate lifts, you will be your own supervisor, and it is up to you to ensure the working area is appropriately cordoned off and signed. Should anyone approach the area whilst you're operating, the lift must be stopped immediately in order for them to be challenged. This should always be done in a polite and civil way to ensure cooperation. A recommended area is the maximum radius of the loader, plus any protruding load, plus 2 meters. So now we've ensured the working area is safe and within scope of the lifting plan, we can now set up the lorry loader ready for lifting. The procedure for this varies on different makes and models of truck. On trucks with a manual gearbox, it is recommended practice to hold the clutch down for 3 to 4 seconds before engaging or disengaging the PTO. This prevents wear or damage on the connecting gear between the truck gearbox and PTO. Whilst in the cab, and at this stage, turn on any beacons or hazard warning lights. The revs then need to be set. Again, the procedure for this varies. On older trucks, it's done manually using a hand throttle or the cruise control. If this is the case, check that you know the recommended running speed or RPM for the PTO. Over-revving doesn't speed the crane up. It simply causes overheating and excess pressure, which damages the equipment. On newer trucks, the revs will be programmed via the engine management system. Therefore, upon deployment of the PTO, or when the crane is turned on, the revs will automatically rise to the recommended preset. On trucks fitted with air suspension to aid stability, it is important to dump the air and lock before any loading or unloading. This prevents the suspension from trying to readjust itself as the load on the vehicle alters. Again, on newer models, this function may be programmed automatically as soon as the PTO is engaged. If the air suspension is manual, make sure you have reset it when you're finished to prevent damage to the vehicle. Ensure all stop buttons are in the out position and turn the crane on. If you're working from a raised workstation such as stand-up controls or a top seat, make sure you access and egress safely at all times using the 3 points of contact rule. When the crane is switched on, it will normally default to leg-only function to ensure leg deployment, although it can be the case that the leg function needs to be engaged on each side. The stabilizers must always be deployed one at a time and on the side of which you're standing. This is to ensure you have a clear view of the lateral and vertical movement of the stabilizers during deployment, and you're not inadvertently lowering the stabilizer foot onto a manhole cover, for instance. The type and design of stabilizer locks will vary depending on the manufacturer and whether the stabilizer beam extends manually or hydraulically. Undo the locks. Check the intended path of the stabilizer beam and that no hoses will be snagged or trapped as it extends. On manual stabilizer beams, there'll be a handle fitted to pull the beam out. Hydraulic legs are operated by the lever. If the beam is fitted with the means for it to be locked when extended, then this must be locked in. Stabilizers must always be deployed fully in accordance with manufacturer's instructions. You must ensure that the stabilizers are fully deployed on both sides at all times. The only possible exceptions to this are if the lorry loader is fitted with a stabilizer monitoring system, or if your company has addressed all possible risks using other methods, which must be clearly stated in the safe system of work or lifting plan. Now, the stabilizer leg can be lowered. Bringing the foot to within a few millimeters from the floor will assist in alignment of the pad or mat, and it is recommended that this is positioned slightly outwards of center and only use the mat sizes specified within the lifting plan. As the foot then makes contact with the mat, we're looking to ensure that any slack in the stabilizer beam is taken out, and a natural consequence of this will be that the stabilizer foot kicks out and becomes central on the pad. The stabilizers should not then be operated any more than 25 to 50 millimeters further downwards, as it's important for all braked wheels to remain in firm and full contact with the ground. Once both sides have been lowered, check the bullseyes, if fitted, to ensure you're level. This can also be confirmed by looking at the vehicle from the rear. Once you're happy that the vehicle is stable and well balanced, the loader can then be put into crane mode to commence lifting operations. So, to summarize what we've just seen, on basic and some intermediate lifts where you're working as your own supervisor, the operator is responsible for ensuring that the lifting operation falls within the scope of the lifting plan, including the risk assessment and method statement. The operator is responsible for ensuring the lorry loader is set up in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. The manufacturer's handbook should be checked against the advice and methods provided in this section, and ensure that the manufacturer's instructions are followed at all times. Finally, deploying and stowing the stabilizer legs correctly saves lives. Do it right, for your sake.